All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
All right, morning.
I am located in my apartment's common room.
Oh,
So
wow. So you're out of your apartment yourself and into like a separate space. Good for you.
yeah, hoping no one comes up to, you know, make some microwave eggs or anything. But where are you? In the basement?
Basement. Got a
Doesn't look like a bedroom. That'd be a
baby
weird bedroom.
monitor rocking. Uh, we'll
I got the
see how
baby
that.
monitor right here.
Yeah. Just face down sleeping.
Yeah, he's face down sleeping.
That's the way I do too.
They switched him to a cot at daycare because he's going to the 1-year-old room soon.
Yeah, just heard about that last night. Natasha had parent teacher night was last night for Natasha, and they said 1 year is when they split up the rooms and stop with naps and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's sleeping pretty well. The eating was an adventure.
You also can't make up that last night first fever miserable experience for like 3-4 hours or so, and then knock on wood, she went down and out.
Is Julia not feeling well too, or just a little one?
No, just her. Yeah, we're good.
All right, you want to kick things off?
Yeah, let's do it. So, top 10 books. How would you even describe it? So it's top
So that's
10
did you
books
see?
that.
I said top 10 most iconic dad books.
Okay, most iconic dad books. So majority of dads would have this in their little nightstand next to their bed.
Yeah, majority would have them on next to your bed. If you're reading on vacation, a dad's coming up to you being like, I love that book.
Yeah.
You've seen a dad read that in the airport. You've seen a dad read that on the train.
Yeah. All right. So then the top 10 list was pretty easy, but ranking the top 10 list was tough. Like
Okay.
to come out with a first overall was difficult. Like top 10, I feel like is pretty set here, but one overall. If I'm on the
whoa, time out. Have you read every book on your list?
Yes.
I have not. I went top of the head. No repeat authors. I
No repeat
alternated
authors.
fiction,
Same.
nonfiction.
No repeat authors. Yeah, fiction, nonfiction. Yeah, same. But I read them.
I think dad books tend to lean a little bit more nonfiction. Just like the classic Jack Donaghy quote, I don't read fiction.
Majority, I would say like 60%, 40%.
Yeah, totally agree. I think we go 10-1.
Fine.
Okay. You want to go your number 10?
Yeah. If I'm going number 10, then I'm going Jurassic Park.
On my honorable mention list.
Honorable mention? Yeah. All right. So if that's number 10.
Wait, I'll do my number 10.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 10. Now I have Into Thin Air, John Krakauer.
Yeah.
Story of the mishap on Everest.
Yeah.
That's classic 90s book that you saw on so many bookshelves growing up.
You can picture the like cover of the book also.
Yeah.
The blue like ice cap mountain.
Exactly. What's your number 9?
9 will go with Gatsby.
Gatsby's a huge American novel. Obviously, I read it twice. Read it once in high school, once when I started dating Monica. She wanted to read it, and then I read it. She did not. But
my thought with picking it is that it's a book that every dad has read at least once, probably twice more recently when like the movies started coming out and getting popular.
The Leo movie, yeah.
Yeah, like they went back and refreshed, like, hey, saw the movie, people are talking about it again. Oh yeah, I read that book in high school. Let me give it another shot.
Yeah, I will. They're totally different books, but I'll put that. I have the same line of thinking about Gatsby as it did Da Vinci Code. Because Da Vinci Code was read by so many people that I tried to
gear towards that. Yeah, I can see
towards men in their 30s to 70s.
So I guess the thing about Gatsby though is that So the main character is like he's just kind of an old, normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill guy.
Yeah, Nick Carraway.
Yeah, yeah. Not, father, not dad or anything like that, but he's just that kind of guy that you relate to, I guess. And it's a quick read. So Da Vinci Code is a big read. You got to kind of commit to it.
Oh, yeah.
Gatsby, quick read, do it in a weekend.
And it's an American classic.
And you feel accomplished reading something by Fitzgerald. Yeah.
Okay. I don't love my number 9. I thought the best way to do it was to do top of my head, and then we'll take your 10 and my 10. We'll try and make a top 10.
Okay.
Okay. My number 9 is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, but read it in high school, loved it, and it was the inspiration for Apocalypse Now.
Okay. Apocalypse Now will kind of turn the tide a bit there. But I will say I did kind of try to avoid like 6th, 7th, 8th high school reading list. Now Gatsby is on that, so that's why it's my number 9. And I know I'm saying this as I just picked that, but yeah, I tried to avoid like reading lists from high school.
Yeah, it popped in my head. I was thinking of dad movies, then I went to Apocalypse Now.
Oh, well, then there you go. Yeah,
and then that's how I got there. It's a shorter read. I needed a fiction book in that slot. Going over it again, I thought Jurassic Park after. I probably would have put Jurassic Park in my number 9 slot.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is our top 10 off the top of our head. We can compile a best top 10, but it's a wild book.
Yes.
And a wild movie.
Yes. Definitely one that you'd
Sticks with
reference more often than you'd think if you read it, especially recently. It's like on every Jeopardy question, has like a Heart of Darkness to it.
Yeah. It also doesn't fall within that time frame of published in the 80s to early 2000s. It was published. I have it up. It's published in 1902, so it's an old book.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you see it on every bookshelf, but that's one that came into my head. What's your number 7?
I have it on my bookshelf. It's there. I haven't touched it in a while. It's pretty dusty, but I have it. 10, 9. All right, next one. Next one, I'm gonna go Moneyball.
My number 4 book.
You had it up there? Yeah.
That is talk about hitting a sweet spot.
Yeah. So that was one where you have like a couple to choose from the author.
Yeah.
So that was the harder part of it, picking that one. Moneyball to me is just like it's pretty perfect because good book, well written, and it's baseball. It's a baseball book when it comes down to it, which is awesome.
I mean, and the term Moneyball, you Moneyball the movie industry, Moneyball.
I know a lot of these have to do with the movie, kind of influence the decision.
I think that's a testament to a good book.
Yeah. And Moneyball hits that more so than, I don't know. Well, honorable mention more so than like Blindside.
Yeah.
And more so, yeah.
That's a good transition to my next book. But that's also another book that you saw that was so ubiquitous growing up on dad's bookshelves that you can picture the pitcher holding the ball on his hip in black and white with the red script Moneyball.
Yes. And not only that, that's the one that was like, I can remember being recommended by like uncles and grandfather. And
it was
stuff.
everywhere.
Like,
it was absolutely
gotta read it. Yeah.
Plus that A's team was so likable. I know. You're like, how is this team doing it? And then that was a really good peak. And Michael Lewis is just such a good writer.
That's kind of part, the Michael Lewis part of it, bringing the 2002 A's with the intricacies of what was going on there. That makes it a dad book, I think, more so than just like an average read.
I don't think that is the last of Michael Lewis. We'll see in our adventure.
It shouldn't be. Like I've got several here similar to before, but I tried to do one per author.
Yeah, he'll come up again. All right, my number 7 book. I wanted to throw a business book in there. I didn't know which one to go with. I went first one off. I went Barbarians at the Gate, The Fall of R.J.R. Nabisco. Yeah, the corporate raiders of the 80s came out in 1989. Have not read it, but that was just a book that you saw on so many shelves, and just such a great name of a title of a book.
Yeah, the name can drag you in there. I also will say, yeah, I'm missing a lot of those like mid to late 80s, just what the heck happened and stuff in the financial markets. I don't really have any of those on my list, but you can imagine at that time those were insanely popular, like going training to work, busing to work, reading that 10 years later.
So that's why I thought it was a good follow-up. I mean, but coincidentally follow up to Michael Lewis Moneyball.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing Michael Lewis Big Short or Michael Lewis Liar's Poker.
Yep.
But I used them already with Moneyball. So this is a classic book. I'm looking forward to reading it as we go on. But again, iconic.
And that's one. I think that's the first one so far that neither of us have read. Oh wait, the Apocalypse Now one I didn't read.
Okay. Yeah, Heart Darkness. All right, what's your number 6 book?
Yeah, probably Old Man in the Sea there.
My number 3 book.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
So again, this is one that I tried to like steer away from because this was like high school reading list. You have it?
I've never read any Hemingway, which is
That's
something
insane. I had 2 separate classes on Hemingway, one in high school and one in college, pretty much.
Yeah, never read Hemingway. Need to.
If that's the case, the honorable mention ones are going to hit pretty hard because I think a lot of people would see, oh, Old Man's like great, but it's not nearly his best book. And that's true, but it's a day read.
Yeah.
It's this thin. You can put it in your pants pocket and you just like bang it out in a day.
It's also about, man versus nature. That's a classic.
Oh, I mean, the story, everything about it is great. Yeah. Now, his other books have more about like, man versus woman and things like that. So it's a little bit more orientated towards that. But Old Man of the Sea, quick read, awesome read.
Yeah, we got to do a Hemingway month where we bang out that.
You could easily do a month.
Do Sun Also Rises.
Yep, that would be a must.
Bell Tolls, yeah. I'm very excited to get into some Hemingway.
Yeah.
I
haven't read them in a while.
Okay, I have not read that one. Here's another book, my number 6, fiction, have not read. Casino Royale, Ian Fleming, kickoff of the James Bond series.
Wow. So I missed Fleming. Shoot. I didn't have him on my author's list.
I haven't made my author's list, but that'll be good. Maybe we'll do it like every
Yeah, I'm disappointed I didn't have any of that in my top 10, to be honest with you. That's the first real miss here. I read that I guess it was COVID. I guess I was going through all the James Bond movies and I told myself, hey, this is actually a book. I might as well read it. And it was awesome. It was so good.
I cannot wait. Obviously the movie is incredible.
Both, like the first one and the new one, I think are both awesome.
Yeah, I was not. Were you a big James Bond movie guy growing up? Yeah, neither was I.
I didn't have the video game. Wasn't a big movie guy growing up, but I did during COVID. I started with 1-1 Sean Connery, and I watched every James Bond movie. I'm pretty sure they were on Amazon. It took months and months.
Yeah, I think Amazon has the rights to all their movies.
Yeah, and I got through them all, and they were all really, really good.
Yeah, I played GoldenEye at friends' houses. I never played it much. Never really watched the movies. I saw maybe one of the Pierce Brosnans growing up.
I did too. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan was once more recently, but most people who like James Bond will say like that's kind of a joke. You gotta watch the old ones before you watch the Pierce Brosnan ones.
And then seeing the Daniel Craig Casino Royale in theaters, I was just like, oh my god, this movie's incredible.
They did a very good job with that movie. And again, book is very good. It holds up well.
Yeah, I'm pumped to read it and kind of dig our teeth into some Ian Fleming. What's your number 5 book?
All right, let's go. I'll throw Hunt for Red October at 5.
My number 1 book.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it at 5 because of the 4 I have coming up in front of it.
I'm really excited to see your top 4 because you nailed my number 1, 3, and 4 books.
Yeah, it makes sense that we had them all there, but yeah, I'm pretty confident, pretty comfortable in my top 4, top 5 here.
I think this is the quintessential that book.
Yeah.
Maybe from the here, little tip into this will be our first book that we review and discuss. This might be the quintessential dad book from the outside looking in, maybe not from the inside looking out.
It's not one that I could picture on bookshelves.
I just feel like you see dads reading that once a year on,
It's pretty accurate, yeah. One way that I like to kind of pick it apart too is when you go to you rent someone's beach house or something. They have books listed, or you go to a hotel.
And that bookshelf has not changed in 25 years. It's the best.
They get one book every year for Christmas from their wives, and they put it on the bookshelf, and it takes them 2 years to read it. Yeah. Hunt for Red October. It's there. It's not on everyone.
So as Monica and I look at houses, you'll go into side living room or someone's bedroom and you'll look at a bookshelf, and I'll take a peek at what's on the bookshelf. Hunt for Red October in the 80s font, cover is often seen.
Yeah. Now that's the only one I thought of for Clancy. I didn't really think about putting any other ones in there.
I think Clancy did a large string of just the Jack Ryan books. I know Patriot, again, the movies like Patriot Games and Some of All Fears are in that. I read more Clancy. We'll go over next week our thoughts on Hunt for October, but I think we'll get back to him. I don't know if we'll go Clancy.
I would need a break. I need a break.
I need a break.
I need to look out there.
All right, my number 4 book. A lot of these books are influenced by books that my dad told me to read growing up, and so historical fiction, Civil War, Killer Angels.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this book?
Got it on my bookshelf at the office. Read it. I forget when I read it. It must have been late high school. It's one that I always kind of come back to on the bookshelf and say, hey, should I give this another shot? But it's intense.
Yeah.
It's an intense
I have not read it. A lot of these books are what books do I want to read? Have not read it. Very interested. I saw this quote about it. Schwarzkopf described Killer Angels as the best and most realistic historical novel about war that I have ever read. High praise.
That is high praise. I would have to go back and read it again. I just remember it being like cuts to the core. Really brutal, neighbors killing neighbors, really tough stuff.
Yeah, we'll get that into honorable mention about another tough book that I was like, should I include it? It might be in your top 4, so I'm not going to mention it. But this is a book, when you're growing up and you're like, I don't know what to read, or I didn't read as much growing up as I do now, but
Same.
you're like, I don't know if I want to read. And your parents are trying to get you into it, and they're like, hey, read this. This is good, or try this, or if you read this, you'll like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. And my dad always said, read Killer Angels, and I never did. And that's actually another book in my honorable mention. But Moneyball was one of the books that he recommended, and I obviously devoured it. All right, what's your number 4 book?
Four, let's go Legend of Bagger Vance.
Is that Pressfield?
Yes. Who is my guy. Probably favorite author. I haven't read all of his books, but the 4 or 5 that I have, all of them are great. Bagger Vance was the choice over the other ones purely because it's golf related.
I was going to say, if it's golf, it's dad.
It is, exactly. And that's why I think it sneaks into the top 5 here, because it's dad plus golf related, and such an awesome story. And again, kind of running theme here, turned into a very good movie.
Okay, the movie's the Charlize Theron, Will Smith movie?
Correct. Will Smith, Matt Damon, yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't have a lot of exposure to this book just because I've maybe seen the movie with you in college. Just it was on TV and we watched it.
If it was on, I was watching it.
Yeah. And not I mean reasonable big golf guy, not a huge golf guy, but obviously huge Pressfield guy. And that will be, foreshadowing of a book we'll go over Pressfield book coming up soon, but he's an incredible writer. So I'm interested to see what he's got in store with Bagger Vance, because I want to hit all these books on our list. So if top 10, we got to do Bagger Vance.
Fortunately, most of these are pretty quick, easy reads, and if not quick, then good reads.
Yeah, I got one coming up.
Anyone that will really struggle through. I can't really picture any so far. Even Killer Angels, because it's tough.
Yeah. Okay. So you did Bagger Vance. I skipped one, so I'm going to do my number 4.
I think I did too, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I've got 10, and I've got 4 remaining.
Okay. And plus you did my number 4. You've done Moneyball already. So let me go over this one. Okay, perfect. Founding Brothers.
Yeah.
Story, I mean, got put an American book in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that just like brought up like 2 or 3 other ones that are now honorable mentions.
Yeah. Founding Brothers, published in 2000 by author Joseph Ellis. This is
2000, you said?
Yeah. So, I mean, just have to do a book about founding of our country, George Washington. But this is I've not read this book, but this is one book that I've saw all the time.
Yeah.
You know, growing up at Barnes and Noble, always at the front. On
Right.
Go to friends' dad's houses. It's there. Just like, I wonder what that book's about. I wonder how Holly Gabby. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna chase right off of that with my next, and it's 1776 by David McCullough.
Yeah, David McCullough's definitely gonna be on our top 10 dad author list.
Has to be there. It's exactly what you just said. You have to have something like U.S.-based presidents. The front of the book is so iconic with the
oh my gosh, yeah,
then crossing the Delaware. That was a book where I think every dad read in America when it came out at that point.
It's just like if you're doing founding fathers, you're doing like America underdog story back against the wall.
And I did get on a kick. So after I read 1776, I started reading like political biographies.
Yeah.
And you could get into a deep, deep rabbit hole with that, reading the biographies of the presidents.
Yeah, there's the Washington Valiant Ambition. Once I put that on my list, I was like, oh, how many other good ones are there? So 77.
Yeah, you can go through a list. Some of them are good reads, some of them are tough reads. But like you name it, like Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson.
Well, that big Hamilton book, is that Ron Chernow?
Hamilton book?
Yeah.
Didn't read it.
The one that they made the play on. I think it's. Yeah, it's based on the book by Ron Chernow. Ron Chernow is just. Those books are thick, though.
Yes.
All the books that he's done a lot of. Like.
I always think of Meacham. John Meacham, I think is his name. It's like a political biographer.
Yeah. He did the Rockefeller book, Washington a Life book, Ulysses S. Grant book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, my last book that you have not mentioned is my number 2 book, and Stephen Ambrose, big time dad author, Band of Brothers. Have you read this book?
No.
Unbelievable.
It's one book?
One book. Absolute page turner, just like the shows, like you want to just keep watching. I read it. I was in Las Vegas on a trip with my uncle, and all I wanted to do was read this book. Even though I'm in Vegas, my first and only time there. It was. Do you
think most people read it before the show came out, or do you think the show led people to read it?
Probably after the show, people read it, but it was such a good book that they want to make.
Yeah.
The show.
Yeah.
Came out in 1992.
And then it just got like a new lift to popularity.
Yeah. Obviously, the miniseries is untouchable.
I was never an HBO guy, but I have watched bits.
What is this on an HBO guy? I mean, they got some for everyone.
I know. I just never was, never had it, never was. And it's hard for me to commit to like those hour-long shows. I felt like I did a good job with like Game of Thrones, but Band of Brothers, watch bits and pieces here and there. That's about it.
All right, then this is going to be one of our first books we read because you got to read this book and then
All
watch.
right, I'll look forward to that. I haven't read a war one in a while.
Yeah, I didn't want to lean too heavily on war. I hit Band of Brothers, I hit Killer Angels.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a whole genre of book is war books. But Stephen Ambrose, and he's also done the Lewis and Clark book, Undaunted Courage.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, big time. I mean, he did Nixon book, Crazy Horse book.
Crazy. Okay. Yeah.
Transcontinental Railroad book. Like, this is just like hacking away. He's hitting his target audience like you wouldn't believe.
So, yeah, this one is very close to the 1-1 for me. Not personally, but just because it's there. I went with Killing Reagan. You could pick any of the Killing books, and it's there. But Killing Reagan was like, my grandfather has 3 copies. Just to pass them around to grandsons and son-in-laws and things like that.
Do you know who did it start with? Because I mean, there's how many Killing books now? There's tons.
There's tons. I'd say it might be a dozen.
They're all Bill O'Reilly, right?
Early ones. I think the early ones were Killing Jesus, Killing England, and Killing Reagan might have been up there with the early ones, actually.
Yeah.
But there is a long list that you could choose from here. I threw Killing Reagan in there because I just feel like it was pretty ubiquitously read. And it was a good read, actually. Some of them are kind of tough to get through, but Killing Reagan was a good one.
Yeah, all Bill O'Reilly. I haven't read any of the Killing books.
I've read most of them except Killing Jesus I haven't read, and maybe one other one. They've definitely fallen off recently, like the more recent ones. You said Crazy Horse before. There's a Killing Crazy Horse.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most recent one was Killing the Witches, which is about like the Salem witch trials.
Killing Witch Trials, yeah.
But to pigeonhole kind of honorable mention from that, yeah, he's the writer, whatever, but his historian, I think his name's Martin Dugard.
Yeah, Martin something.
Yeah, he's the writer, I think. He's where the gist of the good stuff comes from.
Yeah, Killing Lincoln, Killing Kennedy, Killing Jesus, or some other ones.
All good. All good.
So what are they? Are they detective manhunt novels? Are they like how this happened? Are they
it's like flashbacks.
Okay.
So like the different pages and different chapters are like flashbacks from the 2 different sides, the side of the protagonist and then the side of the person killing the protagonist.
Yeah.
And it just kind of goes flashback, and then it brings the stories together on the day of, and then there's an aftermath also.
So I read Hellhound on His Trail, the Martin Luther King assassination book. Well, I can't think of not Lee. What's it? Who killed MLK? James Earl Ray. James Earl Ray book about the guy who killed MLK, and that was pretty good. Very hyped. Also, kind of in this genre of books at the target audience of men 30 to 70.
Have read
the guy who wrote another big time book. But I'm down to get into obviously these moments of history, kind of just play right into what we're looking for.
They're good.
So that was my last book.
They're not great. They're good.
Yeah. I have tons of. I will mention that I'm going to go through. But if you have anything left on your list, let me know. What's your number one? Was that your number one?
No, I have a number one saved up ready to go.
Okay.
Plum Island.
What is it?
Plum Island.
Never heard of this.
Nelson DeMille?
No. Oh, I know Nelson DeMille, obviously.
You have to.
Yes.
His first book. It's so good. It's just so good.
Detective novel?
Badass detective out in like Shelter Islandish area in New York. Tough guy, sarcastic, single, divorced, drinker, smoker, sex.
I'm in. Say no more. I'm in.
Everything, and it's such a good detective plot too. It's like it's a dad book because I think all dads have read it, but they love it so much because it makes them feel like a horny 15-year-old at the same time while reading it.
We live in the glory days. They're like, I still got it. I can still reach back to
It
the
is. It's
apple.
like this guy's 40, he's fat, he's smoked, he's an ex-cop, and he still gets around. Yeah, it is. It is so
I got a
good.
shot.
It is so good. I give it to everybody. It's like, what's a good read if they haven't yet? And it has yet to disappoint.
Okay, couple questions. Is it the first in the series?
That's it. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
like.
Yeah, there
I
might
like
be a
being the
couple other
first.
better ones in there actually, and he's got some other characters who are similar, like detectives. But this Plum Island starts with the guy John Corey. John Corey.
And is Nelson DeMille the most read author of the generation above us who is not read by our generation?
Most
I don't
read,
know.
not
I don't
read.
know anyone our age who reads Nelson DeMille.
Not unless I tell him to. Yeah, that's a good point.
Which it sounds like you do often with this book.
Yeah. Yeah, for people just to not know the name like off the top of their head. Part of that is because I don't think any of them have been made into movies. I don't think you could make them into a movie. You would have to do like some kind of not rated, like I don't know how you would do it because the movies are just, they would have to be at least rated R and it still wouldn't be good enough.
Wow. Maybe that's it.
I would think so because I can't think of any of them that were made into movies. He kind of hits tough subjects too. Like he did one that loops in like 9/11 fiction.
Yeah.
So that would be tough to make a movie with, but I hope and pray that they don't make it a movie because it's just so good as it is. I don't know who they could cast as the main character. It'd be impossible.
I mean, we got to read this. I'm gonna look up.
I've been saving it to reread. To be honest with you.
Okay, it's gonna be one of our first books that we go over.
Yeah.
It sounds like. Do you ever read any Dennis Lehane? He did
What would be a title?
Gone Baby Gone. His big three are Gone Baby
Gone.
Nah. Shutter Island and Mystic River.
Yeah, I've seen them. Know what you're talking about, but no, I never read those.
He's a very good author, but he might be the kind of the new Nelson DeMille. He's come out with more books recently. Just I haven't read them in the last 10 years. All right, can I hit you with a couple honorable mention? Just rolling through them.
Yeah, run through it,
and tell me which ones you want to talk about if there's any. Okay. Great Santini, Theodore Rex. Again, I'm just writing this down. The Jack Welch book. Did you ever see that book on bookshelves? I just thought I was going through them fast. I was like, we listened to the Jack Welch book on audiobook on the road trip.
Oh,
exactly. My whole family was captivated. My dad was like loving it. So I put Shoe Dog in there. Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to put Hunter S. Thompson, so either Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or Hell's Angels. And then how I left this book off, Perfect Storm.
Yeah, you've talked about that in the past. I'm very surprised. I think you might have over talked about it, where you thought like, "Hey, this is too common to even throw in the top 10."
Yeah,
but that's one that when you mentioned a while ago, I was very excited to read because I did not know that was a book.
Yes, obviously, men against nature. Men isolated in a area they can't escape from.
Boating, fishing, men against nature, obviously struggle in there. Yeah.
It's just also came out in the era that we're thinking of. The movie came out in 2000. Sebastian Junger, who's great. The book came out in 91, in 97. This is just sweet spot. That
would be one I'm curious because I like the movie and the movie has like good actors and everything in it. I'd be curious to see if it holds up. Movie to book. Usually they don't.
All right, let me just keep rolling through. Season on the Brink. That's a Bobby Knight book. American Sniper. I went a little.
That's a miss. American Sniper. Yeah, that's a miss.
Jurassic Park, Jaws, Godfather. This is a good one. Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
That was that black cover with the orange font.
Yeah.
The title taking up the full length of the book. That one was everywhere.
Yeah. American
Doolittle,
Sniper.
Cormac McCarthy, The Road.
Did you say Dune?
I didn't say. I haven't said Dune.
Oh, I thought you said Dune.
Dune is so.
No, it's the same as I think you got to put Dune, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings trilogy. They're two. They're not specific enough for
They're not
this.
specific enough for
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a.
If I
a
had
very
my top
odd
10
genre.
list of reads, it would be a very different list.
Yeah. Playing for Keeps, the Michael Jordan book, Boys in the Boat, Summer of '49,
Yeah.
Williams and DiMaggio, Da Vinci Code, Endurance, the book about Shackleton, The Right Stuff, which is Tom Wolfe, and he is beloved by every dad right now. I just haven't read any of his stuff. I just know he's an iconic author. And then Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Mm-hmm. You just like put something in my head of something that I read recently. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's Laura Hildebrand is the author. She's done a few things recently.
I recognize the name.
Yeah, I'll get it in a second. It's about the runner, the runner who is
Unbroken, the Lou
yeah,
Samperini.
yeah.
That's right up there with Boys in the Boat as kind of the
very similar.
I
All right, so
like
you
the
threw out
inspiration
American Sniper. I'll throw out Lone Survivor.
Yep, big time.
Similar, very, very good. Profiles in Courage by Kennedy.
Okay.
So John F. Kennedy's, it's not an autobiography. It's just a book that he wrote about different leaders in the past and times where they needed to be courageous.
I'm in.
That was one I can kind of remember, like, hey, Sean, it's time for you to read this book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Count of Monte Cristo, one of my all-time favorites.
That's a great one.
Not one that I saw enough.
That's a great, but it's just like it's a classic.
Yeah,
and it's that's
and
a
you
good one.
throw right next to it in the same line. You have to throw Three Musketeers.
Yep.
Which
Both
just
by Dumont or
same author. Yeah. The Revenant, which was I feel like it must have been like a New York Times top seller recently because that was a very popular Christmas gift. I feel like that year.
Probably around 2015, 16, 17.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was a very popular Christmas gift. Just kind of have it on the list. Other ones that I could have gone with from the authors, like Crichton, for example. Jurassic Park was a pick, I think, but he also wrote Timeline, which I think was awesome.
Yeah, Crichton. Yeah. Have you read his bio? He's like a Harvard medical. He's like a brain surgeon. He's also a handsome guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he passed away, but he's Michael Crichton's
Timeline, Jurassic Park, and Sphere. It's called. Those all make sense because they do have like a lot of like chemistry, physics.
Yeah, there's one about like nanotechnology that I think he wrote, and then one about like animals. Yeah, I gotta look up what he's read or what he's written.
What else? Any Nesta DeMille could have made this list easily because I feel like if you get one, you get the series.
Yeah.
What was that? Unbroken. Oh, The Firm.
Yeah. Is that Patterson?
Grisham.
Yeah, John Grisham. And
a Grisham, you can kind of pick any of them out there. Like I just read what did I just read recently? Forgot the name of it. Bleachers. I just read Bleachers recently, which you could read kind of any of his books. They're all movies basically now. Good ones and bad ones.
He didn't write Time to Kill. I think Lincoln Lawyer was a book.
If it was a Grisham book, that wouldn't surprise me because a lot of them are law based, like The Firm, like The Associate, I think it was called, and they're all similar to that. But The Firm is a very good book and a good movie.
I don't know if I read. I'm trying to think of a legal book that one recently that I didn't love about the Redstone Company and Viacom. I'm because this I gotta read. That's nonfiction too, but as someone who has I don't know much about the law. I mean, know enough to follow it, not enough to litigate it. I'm interested to see how law translates into like, the novel form, where it's like the fast-paced page turner that he's known for.
I think it makes law look very cool and sexy, and it's not.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
mean,
it's not like a John
you know
Grisham novel?
what's so popular now? That TV show, Suits.
Yeah, it's back. It's back. Like
That might be like a quarter of 1% of law that actually takes place out here.
I think it's a lot of reading.
It seems very
Documents
sexy,
underneath.
very flashy. I think it's a grind. I think
Yeah.
it's a brutal.
Flat lighting and taupe.
Yeah. But the
wall.
firm, the associate, like his lawyer books, they tend to get like, right out of Harvard, hot shot, young attorney.
Yeah. Thrown
The
into
top 1%.
like situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hijinks occur.
Yeah.
And
then we talked about him a little bit, but Pressfield, probably my favorite book of all time, is his Gates of Fire. I chose Bagger Vance because it had the golf input.
Yeah.
But Gates of Fire, 300 Spartans, probably could have been a top 10er here also.
I think, we're going to be doing Gates of Fire's book number 2. I'm reading it now. It is so well written. It just, you don't want to, and he creates the world so well that
we will get into it, but that is one book that I think above all that I wish was real. Like when I read it, I was just like, a part of me was praying that this was like a true story. It was actually written down.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to be real so badly.
Well, he makes the not unbelievable, but the illusory feel so real.
Yeah. Makes very cliche, makes the history come to life.
Yeah.
It's the same with Bagger Vance, which was on my top 5. You want those characters to be real and have existed, and he writes it almost like it was. He writes it almost like it's a history.
Yeah, I can't wait to dig into that book. I read it before just because you basically pushed it into my hand and said you got to read Gates of Fire.
That's a one.
Yeah, and also he's written a couple. I don't know if they're self-help books or that he wrote Do the Work and War of Art that people really, really like.
He wrote another one called, I forgot what it is, but it's about, I think it's called Warrior Ethos, actually. And it is kind of a self-helper of like, hey, this is how you internalize what these people have done historically.
Yeah, as we go through these, I'm gonna do some background so we have some stuff to talk about. I really want to he seems like an interesting dude that I want to dig into the book, but also dig into the man as well. As to wrap up, do you want to try and off the top of our head make a quick top 10 combining our lists? I think we got Plum Island in there.
I think we could do that pretty easily.
So we'll do that one. I think we got to throw in Old Man. We'll put in everything that we both said. Old Man of the Season, Moneyball's in, and Ray Kobar's in. So we'll throw those 3 plus Plum Island. I think we got Pupana Brothers in there. It's so good.
Yeah, that's the one that I had listed here.
All right, so let's just do Plum 1, Band 2, Old Man and the Sea 3. You want to put 76? Let's put that one in 4. Moneyball 5.
I think we should throw. It wasn't in our top 10s because I think you had on. I think we should throw American Sniper in there.
Really?
Like I think that's more than Killer Angels is so like oldish. I feel like American Sniper is a newer, modern version of like what Killer Angels was.
You read American Sniper, right?
Yes.
Is it the fastest read of all time?
It's got to be up there with. I'm trying to think of. I was working in the city, so I was taking the train in. So I was reading an hour and 10 minutes in, an hour 10 minutes out. American Sniper was so good that I would also take it to bathroom breaks at work.
Yeah.
So reading 3 hours on the train a day wasn't enough. I would take it to the bathroom at my office and keep reading it.
You must have finished it in 2 days. I know someone who finished it on a flight.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. No, some
It was like a
Gates of
five.
Fire and American Sniper, thick
5 hour
books
flight.
too, but fast reads.
It's obviously a heroic and tragic story, but it's written for a general audience. It's not, flowery.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
prose.
not just one. Yeah, I mean everybody loves the movie too.
All right, let's see if give me.
Let's throw Casino Royale.
Yeah, I think we got.
So that'll be 6.
I think we got to put one Man versus Nature in there, either Perfect Storm,
Yeah,
or Into Thin Air. Into Thin Air, Krakauer was a big time writer.
I know. Let's do Perfect Storm. Into Thin
Okay.
Air. I don't like heights. It's just like squeezed me out reading it. I remember feeling it. It was the same as the movie or the book that was based off of. Maybe this was. Do you remember the movie Vertical Limit?
Yes.
That was based off of a book. I forget which one.
I don't know if it was this one. I think that was like K2. I think Into Thin Air was.
Yeah.
But also he wrote called the Into the Wild.
I was very glad that didn't come up on either of our lists. Not a fan.
Yeah, the guy's a whiny.
That is one author that we've kind of missed. Old school is like Kerouac, like a Jack Kerouac.
On the road and
on the road. Yeah.
And
he did another book where it's called something with his dog, like something with Charlie, I think. Hiding with Charlie or something.
All right, let me just post it. All right, so I think that was.
I got 6. Plum Island, Band of Brothers, Old Man of the Sea, 1776, Moneyball, Casino Royale. I think American Sniper should be maybe 10. So we have 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9.
Which one? Which you want to do? Perfect Storm.
I think Bagger Vance has to be on there. Yeah, Perfect Storm. Bagger. Yeah.
Perfect Storm 7. Baggers 8, and then 9.
Run me through your list one more time.
It's probably Killing Reagan. We gotta throw a maybe killing. So I have Jurassic Park, Bagger Vance, the ones that we haven't used: Jurassic Park, Killing Reagan, The Firm, Great Gatsby. I would do from my list, The Firm or Killing Reagan would be there.
How are we on fiction, nonfiction? That'll be a tiebreaker.
Band of Brothers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 non, 4 fiction. So we need another fiction.
So the Grisham book.
Firm.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. So now, of that, I have not read 1, 2, 2.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to label this most iconic, because we can't say best if we haven't read them.
That's a good point.
These are like the most iconic dad books. We'll get into them. I'm excited to see which ones live up to the hype, which ones fall more flat. And it's funny to revisit these as, dads ourselves, and like, oh, this book is just such a good dude book.
Because I've never talked about that before, like really getting into books, because I think you said it all. I didn't really read in high school. I think late high school I started to read, but I didn't actually start reading until I was making the commute. And then I needed something to do, so I started picking up books.
I could have put this in my honorable mention. The book that really got me reading a lot was probably I read Band Brothers before this, but was Game of Thrones.
That was late for me.
Yeah. I mean, I was, putting out a couple books a year before that. After Game of Thrones, I was like, oh my God. I thought that book is just so well written, and I loved it.
Yeah, no. You know what? Now I'm thinking back. You mentioned Dan Brown before. I remember reading one of his books when I was a lifeguard, just off time, summer, reading on top of the hill. It was called Digital Fortress.
Yeah, he's got a couple good ones. Maybe we'll throw like a deep cut Dan Brown in there. What's the one before Da Vinci Code? It was also made into a movie.
After Da Vinci Code, I think, was Angels and Demons.
Angels and Demons, but in the book, the movie is after, but the book takes place for the character before.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Yeah.
Angels and Demons is so good.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind throwing a Dan Brown in there, actually.
Yeah.
Not in the top 10, but as a must-read author.
Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts. Anything on the Yanks and Giants?
Giants. Well, actually, both teams, I feel like it's the same story, different chapter. Yankees, big picture, don't have starting pitching, don't have timely hitting. When have you heard that before?
Every year.
Yep. Giants, so frustrating that they have games like this where they look like a 500 team, but then they end up the year with 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah. Giants. I'll go Yankees first. It's pathetic that they're starting John Birdie at first base.
Correct. Makes no sense.
Critical games.
He's never played first base before. And when he did play in the league, he was not like a great guy that you needed in your lineup. He doesn't do anything for him.
I know they had Rizzo, but he came into the year with concussion. Did he play the first half of the year? He's hurt now. I don't know how they don't have just a guy who mashes.
There was a time they had Ben Rice batting like first and leadoff in the order. So you're telling me he's just that bad right now that you can't put him in the 9 hole?
Yeah. But or DJ. I don't know. I love DJ.
I do too, but he's done. Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah, he'll have a special place for that one season where he had like a multi-hit game every game.
He was unbelievable. The machine.
Yeah. And running with runners in scoring position. Yeah, but now he's done.
If Judge and Soto don't hit, who else scares you in the lineup?
Nobody.
I miss the times when it was like Sheffield and Matsui were batting 5 and 6 or 4 and 5. Our number 4 hitters, Austin Wells. Number 5 is the corpse of Giancarlo Stanton.
Austin Wells doesn't do it for me. Stanton is a shell who might get into 1 out of 12 at bats. He might hit the ball hard.
Yeah,
but you can't take
against bad pitching in June.
Yeah.
Not against the best pitchers in the league who are left in the playoffs.
Yeah. Now you can't take him. I don't think you could really play him in the playoffs, to be honest with you. He just doesn't do anything else except maybe hit 1 out of 12 at bats out.
But the roster construction is so bad that who else would you put in for him? You'll take a chance.
I am so big on the Martian, young guy, playoffs, get him on first base. He'll run. He'll excite people. He'll excite the crowd. He hasn't even hit well, to be honest with you.
I know he hasn't hit a lot better last year.
But at this point, I'm like, what are we waiting for? Let's get him postseason experience. Let's get him out there because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah. I'm withdrawing emotionally from this Yankee team.
I have not been excited about them all season. I thought this was probably the worst 1 seed I could say of all time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they had 94 wins.
Number 1 overall team. Number 1 team in the AL this year for them. I think they are a bad team.
Yeah, if they don't play unbelievable baseball in May, they were like 500 the rest of the season.
500 the rest of the team. Yeah, and look at their pitching staff to be like a number 1 seed. You have Garrett Cole, who probably is going to have surgery at the end of the season.
Oh, God.
Carlos Rodon, totally unproven. And now, who? Clark Schmidt, Luis Heel. It's just, this is not a championship team. And anyone who thought they were would be foolish, which the only thing that's, the Mets are going to win it all.
Don't say that.
They're so hot right now. They're so unbelievably hot. It's the first time I think forever I've been kind of envious of a Met fan.
They play hard. They play really hard. Even the game they lost.
The comeback kids, they just come back.
They
They're
really
in
hard.
every game. Like you go into the 7th inning down 2 or 3, you're not scared.
Did you watch that?
Yankees
That
go down
double-
1, I'm petrified.
Oh my gosh, the doubleheader game against Atlanta. That first.
Yeah, it was
games ago.
Yeah.
No, they play super hard, and I'm jealous. The 3 people I work closest with at work are all Mets fans.
I think they're having the time of their lives right now.
I'm like, Yankees aren't good enough. They're just not good enough.
No, they've been good enough to be a 1 series winning team, maybe, and maybe not this year. You could say the series that they should have won would have been the wild card round, but they skipped the wild card round because they somehow had the best record in the AL.
Yeah. Giants closing thought. Throw out that game against Minnesota. They're a decent team.
So Minnesota is a very good team. We didn't know that week 1. Washington is a very good team. We didn't know that week 2.
They could have won that game if they had a kicker or if Malik Neighbors caught that ball in 4th.
You win that game. The Cowboys game, they just can't get that monkey off their back. But that's what's infuriating about the Giants, because if they had won the games that not even that they're supposed to win, that they should have, they're a 500 team fighting for a playoff spot. Instead, now they're on that 5, 6, 7 win line, and that sucks for next year. Because that means Daniel Jones is not as bad as everyone says. That means you have a decision to make, which is probably going to be quarterback when there's so many other holes to fill.
Yeah, they play hard though. They could have rolled over in this game at Seattle without 2 great offensive players, or great for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they controlled that game. They had a weird fumble that I thought was a touchdown.
Yeah. I'd say majority of times that is a touchdown. Like you just have to get the tip of the ball over the goal line, barely holding it, and it's a touchdown. That's very strange that they didn't call it.
Also, how many times would a disastrous special teams play happen to the Giants? To see us pull that off, I was like, I had no words.
Yeah, that doesn't happen to the Giants. You're right. That happens against the Giants. Yeah.
All right, man. Great initial episode. We got let's think of a couple books.
So you're working on
Gates of Fire.
No, I'm working on Blood and
Thunder.
Blood and Thunder, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd like to if we could map out for next episode, the next 5 books we're gonna read. So if people want to follow along, they can.
Okay.
And,
we can. I mean, from this list, it's easy to choose the next 5.
Awesome. Love it. Good job, dude.
All right, man. Awesome.
Be good. Take it easy.